You know, in the history of football, we've seen some absolute geniuses. But has anyone ever made the world's greatest club competition look like their own personal kingdom? Well, one guy did. This is the story of how a kid from Madeira conquered a continent and became Mr. Champions League.
So, how does one player conquer a whole continent? I mean, it sounds almost impossible, right? But this one player's career, it gives us a blueprint. We're going to trace the whole journey, the struggles, the wins that built this legacy that's, well, pretty much unmatched. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. This wasn't just about showing up and playing. No, this was about total, absolute domination. It was built on goals that seemed impossible and knockout stage performances that just completely rewrote the record books.
All right, so who is Mr. Champions? To really get it, we've got to go way, way back. I'm talking before all the trophies, before the insane goal records. Let's start at the very beginning.
So the story of Mr. Champions League kicks off, you guessed it, in the Champions League. He's just 17 years old, making his debut for Sporting. But it was a year later, in a friendly, that he really made his mark. He just tore Manchester United's defense apart. I mean, Sir Alex Ferguson was so blown away, he basically said, "We are not leaving this stadium until we sign that kid." And yeah, the rest is history.
So he gets to England, they hand him the legendary number 7 shirt. I mean, talk about pressure for an 18-year-old. And let me tell you, his path to European glory, it was not a straight line. It was a real struggle, and that struggle is what ultimately made him a champion.
Okay, so think about it. He's at Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs on the planet, right? Surrounded by world-class players. You'd think he'd just start tearing it up. But the Champions League, that was a whole different animal. For his first 3 seasons there, United kept getting knocked out early, and Ronaldo's contribution to the score sheet was, well,
0. Yep, you heard that right. Nothing. For 3 whole seasons, across 26 matches, Cristiano Ronaldo did not score a single goal in the Champions League. It's kind of crazy to even think about that now, but it just shows you how high the mountain was that he had to climb.
But then, something just clicked. Sir Alex Ferguson started to work his magic, transforming this flashy winger who loved his stepovers into a direct, ruthless, stone-cold goal-scoring machine. The breakthrough came with that first goal against Roma. The very next season, he just exploded, finishing as the tournament's top scorer and carrying United all the way to the final.
Man, that first final was just an absolute roller coaster for him. First, the glory. He scores this incredible, soaring header to put them ahead. Pure magic. Then, the heartbreak. In the penalty shootout that decides everything, his shot gets saved. He was seconds away from being the guy who lost it for his team. But then, a slip from Chelsea's captain, a massive save from his keeper, and suddenly those tears of despair turned into tears of pure joy. He was a champion.
Okay, so he's conquered England. What's next? A world record move to Real Madrid. And this wasn't just a transfer. This was the start of an empire. This is where Cristiano Ronaldo went from being a champion to being the king of this competition.
Over at Madrid, he became the spearhead of one of the scariest attacking trios we've ever seen, the BBC. You had Bale, Benzema, and Cristiano. I mean, they were a nightmare for defenders. Just this perfect storm of speed, power, and deadly finishing that basically shredded teams all over Europe.
And this is when he was just on another planet. On the way to winning La Decima, which was a huge deal for Real Madrid, their 10th European title, something they've been chasing for years, Ronaldo didn't just score goals. He completely shattered the record for most goals in a single season. 17 goals. The guy was just unstoppable.
So what did all that dominance lead to? How about 4 Champions League titles in just 5 years? And yeah, that includes an insane 3 in a row. A three-peat. No other club had ever done that in the modern era. He was leading a dynasty.
And his time there was just packed with these iconic moments you can't forget. Remember that insane overhead kick against Juventus? The one where their own fans gave him a standing ovation? Or how about the fact he scored in 3 different finals? He was always there on the biggest stage. He was the guy who'd score a hat trick just to knock out your biggest rivals. He didn't just collect trophies. He created legends.
So after 9 years of just incredible success, he decides he needs a new challenge. He heads to Italy, then back to Manchester. The king was in new kingdoms, and even though the team's success didn't quite follow, he showed everyone he could still pull off moments of pure, undeniable genius.
And if you want one moment that just sums up his entire mindset, this is it.
His new team, Juventus, they're down 2-0 to his old rivals, Atletico Madrid. They're basically out. So who do you look to? Ronaldo, of course. He literally told everyone it was going to be a magical night, and what does he do? He goes out and scores a legendary hat trick and turns the whole thing around by himself. I mean, come on, that is Mr. Champions League.
Look, the story is full of drama, right? All these incredible moments. But at the end of the day, his legacy is written in the numbers. And the numbers, well, they don't lie. Let's just run through some of the records that prove he's in a league of his own.
First up, 183. That's how many times he's played in the Champions League. It's the all-time record. And look, that's not just about being around for a long time. That's about being at the absolute top of your game for nearly 2 decades.
Next number, 140. That's how many goals he scored. He's the all-time top scorer, and he's so far ahead of everyone else. Seriously, that record might never be broken. He is, without question, the ultimate predator in this competition.
But see, it's not just how many goals he scored. It's when he scored them. That's just mind-blowing. Check this out. 67 goals in the knockout stages. That's when everything is on the line, when the pressure is insane. He finished as top scorer 6 different times. And he's the only player, the only one, to score in 3 separate finals. He wasn't just in the big games. He was the big games.
And it all leads to this, doesn't it? The big one. 5 Champions League trophies. He got one with Manchester United, where he really started building his legend, and then an absolutely ridiculous 4 with Real Madrid, where he built a true dynasty.
So you go from this kid who couldn't buy a goal for 3 years to the guy who owns pretty much every important record in the book. The numbers, the moments, the titles, they all tell one very clear story. And it leaves us with one final towering question. Will the reign of Mr. Champions League ever truly be matched?